The Bettina just got buffed, and after a long time of this weapon sitting in the back of most raiders' stashes collecting dust, it might finally be worth talking about. I took the Bettina into a few raids, testing it all the way from level 1 up to level 4 with the best in slot epic and legendary attachments to see whether it performs the way it should. For those who do not know, the Bettina is a heavy ammo weapon that has always had an identity problem. The damage was there on paper, but in practice it never quite felt like it justified the cost of running it. With the Riven Tides update, Embark decided to change that. Here is what actually changed. Base damage has gone up from 14 to 16. Damage against arc armor has been increased by around 33%. The fire rate has been reduced from 285 to 235, which sounds like a downgrade until you understand what Embark was going for. Per-shot dispersion has been reduced by around 40%, meaning the weapon blooms slower and stays accurate longer in sustained bursts. Dispersion recovery time has also improved by around 30%, and the heavy ammo stack size has been increased from 40 to 60, which is a direct acknowledgement that ammo consumption has always been this weapon's biggest weakness. In plain terms, every single bullet now hits harder, stays on target longer, and you can carry more of them. The trade-off is a slightly slower fire rate, which in this case actually works in the weapon's favor by giving you more control over those bursts. Against arc armor specifically, this weapon now shines in a way it simply did not before. The 33% increase in arc armor damage is not a small number. Heavily armored arcs that used to feel like a slog to strip down are now a much more manageable fight. So let us start with the first raid of the day with the Bettina at level 1. Before any upgrades or attachments, and see what we are actually working with straight out of the container. At level 1, the improvements from the buff are noticeable, and the weapon's limitations are very much still present at the same time. The damage increase is real, and you can feel it against arc armor. The slower fire rate takes some getting used to, and the bloom control is better than before. The core problem becomes apparent quickly, though. The bullet velocity feels noticeably heavier and slower compared to something like the Anvil or the Pharaoh. Shots that should connect at medium range start to drop, and leading moving targets requires a real adjustment in how you aim. At level 1, the Bettina is functional. It is not yet the weapon it can become. The first raid was mostly a warm-up. I spawned around the hotel area on the Riven Tides map and made my way up to the roof. Along the way, I helped a raider deal with a stray bastion, then turned my attention to the wasps and hornets in the area. And this is where the Bettina first started to show what the buff had actually done for it. Both hornets and fireflies have armor, and the Bettina is now exceptional at stripping it. Instead of relying purely on precise aim and carefully timed shots, you can sustain fire onto these arcs and they start dropping in a way that feels noticeably faster than before. For a weapon that used to feel inconsistent against lighter armored enemies, this was an encouraging sign. I then took on a vaporizer, which given its agility in the air is always one of the more demanding fights in the game. The encounter went on for several minutes. Taking down a vaporizer with the Jupiter is faster and more straightforward, and I will not pretend otherwise. That said, the Bettina held its own. The windows to land shots on a vaporizer are narrow by nature of how the enemy moves, and that is an enemy-specific characteristic rather than a weapon limitation. Even at level 1 with no modifications, I was able to bring the vaporizer down without any major issues. Something I discovered during this raid that surprised me was that the Bettina appears to have a knockback effect on impact, similar to what I believe the Osprey and the Renegade had before, and what the Aphelion also has. I am not entirely sure how it works mechanically, but the evidence was hard to ignore. When fighting Rocketeers later in the raids, which you will see, sustained full auto-fire into one of their thrusters kept them locked in place. They were simply unable to close the distance towards my position, and I was able to repeat this 2 or 3 times before they actually managed to get an attack off. That alone changes how you approach a Rocketeer entirely. The same effect showed up against the vaporizer as well. While it was flying around, the sustained Bettina fire appeared to disrupt its flight control, causing it to lose altitude and struggle to maintain its usual agility. Whether this is intentional or a side effect of the damage output, I cannot say for certain. Either way, it is something worth keeping in mind and testing further. Heading towards the extract, I ran into multiple light arcs and a leper. The leper in particular is where the Bettina felt most satisfying at this stage. Stripping its armor was almost effortless, the sustained fire doing exactly the job it is designed for. I was moving in and out of engagements carefully though, keeping one eye on the arc turbines nearby. Aggro one of those and the raid is over, so patience was the priority. Towards the end of the raid, the Leaper managed to get itself stuck in the ground, which I found particularly entertaining. At this point, one Leaper was costing me around 100 to 120 heavy bullets to take down. For a weapon running on heavy ammo, that is actually not a bad trade-off at all. And then, in a less entertaining turn of events, I fell down a rock, got knocked, and decided it was time to extract. First raid done. The Bettina at level 1 showed real promise, especially against armored arcs. The bullet velocity and drop issues were present but manageable. The damage felt meaningful in a way it did not before the buff. Time for the second raid, and this time I brought the Bettina fully upgraded to level 4, decked out with the best attachments available, to find out whether the full investment actually pays off. The problem is that level 4 alone is still not quite enough, and this is where the real cost of running the Bettina starts to reveal itself. For the Bettina to perform at the level it is capable of, 3 specific attachments make a significant difference, and none of them are cheap or easy to come by. The first is the extended barrel for the muzzle slot. This is an epic attachment worth around 5,000, and it is craftable if you have the blueprint. The reason this attachment is worth prioritizing is the bullet velocity and bullet drop issue. The Bettina's bullets feel noticeably heavier than those of the Anvil or Pharaoh, and shots at medium to longer ranges start to drop in a way that makes the weapon feel unreliable without this fix. The extended barrel directly addresses this, tightening up the weapon's effective range and making it far more consistent to use. The second is the horizontal grip, another epic modification, this one worth around 7,000, and this one comes with a catch. The horizontal grip reduces both vertical and horizontal recoil, which is exactly what the Bettina needs given its sustained fire nature. The bigger issue is that this attachment cannot be crafted. It is a raid find only, which means if you do not have one in your stash already, you are waiting until you find one out on the Rust Belt. That makes it an unreliable part of any build unless you have been actively collecting them. The third is the kinetic converter, also worth around 7,000 and also raid find only. This one increases fire rate by an additional 15%, which effectively pushes the weapon's DPS higher and brings back some of the fire rate lost in the base buff. The trade-off is increased recoil, which is why the horizontal grip pairs so well with it. Together, these two attachments balance each other out and push the Bettina into strong territory. Separately, each one only solves half the problem. So what does all of this actually cost to run properly? The weapon itself at level 4, the extended barrel at around 5,000, the horizontal grip at around 7,000, the kinetic converter at around 7,000, and then the ammo. From my own testing, running the Bettina effectively through a full raid costs around 30,000 in heavy ammo alone. Add it all together and you are looking at a significant investment just to get this weapon to the point where it performs the way it should. And that brings us to the real question. Does the Bettina, fully built and properly supported, actually outperform weapons like the Renegade or the Tempest? Not really. Not in a general sense. Against heavily armored arcs in specific situations, the Bettina is exceptional. The arc armor damage, the sustained burst control, the improved dispersion, all of it comes together in those moments and the weapon excels. For everything else, the Renegade and the Tempest remain more versatile, more accessible, and more forgiving options that do not require a 30,000 ammo budget and 2 raid find-only attachments to feel competitive. The Bettina works. Under the right conditions, it works very well. Will it be my personal go-to from here on? No. The cost-to-performance ratio outside of specific arc-heavy scenarios simply does not justify making it a primary weapon. The running costs are real, the attachment dependency is real, and the bullet velocity quirks are still there even at full build. That said, it has earned a place in the rotation. When the situation calls for a weapon that strips arc armor efficiently and sustains damage through heavy encounters, the Bettina is now a legitimate choice in a way it was not before this buff. Embark moved in the right direction here. The Bettina is no longer collecting dust. It is just not cheap to run, and you need to go into it with that expectation clearly set. So Raiders, have you tried the Bettina since the buff? And do you think the investment is worth it for what you get in return? Let me know in the comments. And if you stayed with me all the way until now, please like and subscribe. It truly helps more than you know. John Rader, out.